Hey everyone. So, REDSEC has been out for about 2 months now, and I can't help but feel like it's fallen off a little bit. So, I'm going to run through what I believe to be the positives, the negatives, and also some small tweaks or changes that could possibly retain current players and attract new ones. Right, I'm going to kick things off positively, starting with the matchmaking. A few weeks ago, around the time of the California Resistance update, the matchmaking was a mess, to be honest. We could only get into a game of quads by enabling crossplay, and we kept having to leave and re-queue to find a match. But this was sorted pretty quickly, and now we're getting into games super quick in both duos and quads with or without crossplay enabled. So that's a good thing. Next up, the weapons. There's been minor improvements to the weapon bloom effect in previous patches, and guns as a whole do feel pretty good. Obviously towards that mid to long range you do need to tap fire full auto weapons, but that's a good thing. We don't want people building weapons up to be absolute laser beams. However, I think more needs to be done regarding this random bullet deviation, particularly with assault rifles. I've encountered a few instances where I'm in a really close range gunfight and the enemy has something like an LMG, and it almost seems like some of my bullets just don't register. Almost as if the suppression mechanic is sending rounds off just into the abyss. And at those short ranges, you should be able to hold down the trigger and not have any shots not hitting their target. It just seems like even super close range, if you're slightly suppressed, some bullets just don't count. And speaking of weapons, I'm a big fan of how the loadouts work in REDSEC. When you upgrade a ground gun, you can choose between 2 upgrade paths, and that's stacks. So combine this with the fact that you can choose between 8 personal customization weapons from loadout drops, it means that every round can feel different, depending on which upgrade paths you take, and you can tailor ground guns on the fly to suit where the zone is or what other weapons you're carrying. If it looks like the zone is pulling out into an open space, you might want to take a higher zoom optic. If it looks like it's going to be finishing in buildings, you might want to take something like a suppressor. So this is cool. As a whole as well, I feel like the mode itself has been just more stable in general. When the game first dropped, I had at least one crash every night when playing in quads, and we had 3 or 4 duos matches that bugged out on us and placed us in second place despite obviously being the last surviving team. We were in the fire, it was closing in, and we actually died at the fire in the final circle. I can happily say though that these issues seem to have been ironed out a lot, and I've been having far fewer crashes as a whole across both duos and quads. Now before we get into any of the negatives, if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more. Any interaction massively helps with the algorithm. Thanks guys. Okay, good stuff out the way. Now for a few negatives that I believe could be hurting the game's appeal. Starting off with the missions. I'm sure by now you're all sick of aligning 1,000 antennas or sitting still and deciphering hard drives. For me, the missions are the most boring part of a round, and I think it makes the first 5 or 10 minutes of gameplay feel very boring. You do the exact same 3 or 4 missions pretty much every game for fairly meaningless rewards. Airstrikes and artillery are good, but these feel like they're too common. I feel like you should only be able to get them out of the mission reward crates, and not from just normal crates that you find on the ground like the ones that make a noise. Especially in quads, you get into a gunfight and you can be hit with 2 artillery strikes right off the bounce. Where if you could only get them from the mission crates, it would make the missions more worthwhile doing. The only rewards that really feel worth it out of the missions are the custom loadout drops or vehicle keycards, and for that you've got to do 3 or 4 before you even get the opportunity for those. Talking of vehicles, I think they're in a bit of a funny place at the minute. They've had their ammo nerfed and they've had tweaks to health. Particularly now, it seems like the IFV can only take 3 rockets from the front or side instead of the usual 4 before it's destroyed. The IFV as well doesn't have ADS like the tanks do, so it can't stop incoming rockets. If an enemy hits you at the lower sides, it disables your tracks, leaving you vulnerable to follow-up shots, and you're just a sit and duck. As a whole, this vehicle just feels like I'm sitting in a steel coffin. And there's so many ways for them to be destroyed, and they do get destroyed so fast, it just feels like they're not even worth getting now. I understand nobody wants vehicles to feel too overpowered, but considering the effort it takes to actually get one, I feel like they've gone a bit too far with nerfing them, and I feel like a couple of tweaks might be needed to bring them a bit more in line. Okay, the next one, loot boxes. I feel like some of the items in the loot boxes are just totally pointless. The incendiary airburst launcher and the incendiary shotgun are very unreliable. They're even bad in the multiplayer, and they serve less of a purpose in the Battle Royale. There are currently 3 shotgun variants, and even after fully upgraded, none of them are really worth keeping, even as a secondary. Throwing knives do, at best, a measly 50 damage to the body. They are a one-shot headshot, but these actually also get affected by the suppression mechanic and the bloom, making them highly unreliable. And we have 3 different types of vehicle mines when 1 is more than enough. My main point for this is that there's just a lot of fluffer loot, things you just pick up for the sake of it and just drop it straight away or just avoid it altogether. Now, I know that's a case for a lot of games. A lot of games have, obviously crap loot, bottom tier loot that you're going to just get rid of straight away. But within REDSEC, I feel like the gadgets that you do pick up just don't work as intended. The airburst launcher does absolutely nothing, even if enemy behind cover. The incendiary shotgun does do damage directly to health, but it's that negligible, you'd be better off just running at them with your knife. Like if you find a grey weapon off the floor, yeah, it's got no attachment, it's not great, but you can still kill people with it. It still has a purpose. It's crap loot and you would upgrade it, but it still has a purpose. These other gadgets are just there for the sake of it, and it just takes up space. Lastly, and what I believe to be the biggest downfall of the game, the mode doesn't have anything to grind for. They've recently dropped a few new cool play card emblems that you can unlock by winning missions, but aside from that, there's no real reason to be grinding out this game mode. I think that more than anything, this is hurting the game. Aside from the new emblems, there's nothing you can get to show off in multiplayer that shows how much time and effort you've put into REDSEC. With the battle pass as well, often I'd finish quite high in a match and only get 1 singular battle pass point. We had a 3rd place finish and I had 12 kills and I got 1 measly point towards the battle pass after a 30-minute game. There are very few challenges tied to the battle royale, so if your main focus is on getting through the battle pass, it could almost be worse use of time to play the REDSEC game mode. If your main focus is upgrading your character, getting that level up, upgrading your guns, and progressing through the battle pass, you'd be much better off playing multiplayer. And so, what tweaks would I make to the game mode to make it a bit more balanced, enjoyable, and hopefully retain some players? Firstly, I think everyone can agree the best class in the game mode by far is Recon. The auto spot enemies when aiming for your entire team, the tugs is crazy good, and the bomb drone is insane. I'd start by creating an audio cue when a bomb drone is within 100 meters of your team. Just a call out from an NPC like enemy bomb drone in the area, so you know to be on the lookout. They're super quiet and can be hard to spot in their current state. Also, remove the ability to re-pick up your tugs. As it stands, when you deploy a tugs beacon, you can see if anyone is running around, then you can pick it up and it automatically refreshes the cooldown. This should be a needs-must gadget for clearing buildings or stopping pushes, and once you've used it, it goes on a cooldown no matter what. Next, just give us 1 ground load shotgun and get rid of the incendiary gadget. Mini frag grenades, gone. Only 1 type of anti-vehicle mine. And instead of all that fluffer loot, just add 4 or 5 different guns. A new AR, a new SMG, a new carbine, a new LMG, and another sniper. Just give us more guns and more variety with the stuff we actually want to use, rather than pointless gadgets. I think more defibs, more deployable covers could be swapped out in their place because they're actually really useful. Another thing I'd add is more mission variety. There are loads of different objectives within the Gauntlet game mode which could be incorporated into BR. Make the missions a bit harder too, but with better rewards. For example, for the bolt cutter mission, for the weapons cache, to open the weapons locker you first need to hack a laptop to find its location, then find the bolt cutters, then find the safe. Maybe even some AI soldiers could drop out of a halo on top of you. Other players would see this and come and get involved, creating more risk to a mission. But in return, that weapon locker has a gold weapon, 2 airstrikes, and a weapon upgrade kit of each type. Currently, the missions are just a bit stale and boring, and it makes the first 5 to 10 minutes of a round just, I don't know, you're on autopilot, you can just do them without thinking. So it definitely needs tweaking. I think a little attack halo 100% needs to be added, something like the little bird. Or maybe you could unlock a larger attack halo with the missiles from a weapon keycard, and maybe around the airfield there could be like a separate hangar where you can get a bigger helicopter. Instead of just tanks and IFVs, let's introduce some aerial gameplay, or perhaps we can utilise them both that they've had sitting out in the water since it launched. At the end of the day, Battlefield is about vehicles as well. It's about the vehicles and the destruction. It's not just boots on the ground shooter like Call of Duty, you know. The vehicles is what makes Battlefield, so I feel like they need to lean into that more instead of just nerfing them into the ground. So with those vehicles as well, I'd totally get rid of the disable and the tracks mechanic. You can get hit by 1 rocket and be disabled and it's game over. You might have done 4 or 5 missions to get that key card and it's instantly over if you run into one decent team with a couple of rockets. We don't want vehicles to be an unstoppable force, but when you see one, it's up to you as a team to take it down. If one team works at missions to get an IFV, it should be up to other teams in the game to focus up and take it down, prioritising that over other engagements. There are a ton of ways to take down a vehicle. Even a support player with no weapons can smoke the tank, then run up and thermite it. However, I would tweak vehicles for duos. You should only be able to get one vehicle keycard per game in duos, like per team. 2 tanks is a bit much to face when you don't have a team of 4 to work together. And last but not least, the main thing is give us a solid reason to play and stick with the game. Add some really unique looking skins or unlocks for winning, or even just placing highly. Not everything has to be about winning and coming in first place. Some people solo queue, and without a solos only mode, it might be very hard for those players to find a decent team, coordinate and get the win. The rewards could even be for placing in the top 5 in quads or the top 10 teams in duos. I've done a little mock-up of what that could look like on screen now. For placing in the top 5 in quads, 50 times you unlock this cool looking skin. Then if you place in the top 5 100 times, the skin advances and he looks slightly more beat up and battle worn. Then if you manage to finish in the top 5 250 times, you unlock the skin's final form. So a really battle hardened warrior who's been bloodied by so many drops into the hot zone. These skins and numbers are all just ideas, obviously they could be tweaked, but I think it could make such a difference to hanging on to current players. Especially if people think, oh, I might not be able to win, but I've had loads of 4th or 5th place finishes, so I could actually push for this skin and I could grind this out. And then you've got something really cool to show off in multiplayer that no one else has, and it shows the effort you've put in. Anyway guys, those are just my thoughts on the REDSEC mode. I'm still having fun with it, but I do hope it gets love and support and it doesn't just die of death. I hope that DICE does continue to support REDSEC, as it is a totally unique game mode with the destruction and vehicle gameplay. Now, if you made it this far, thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next one.